continent. Here's what we've put together for you. Mali secures 51% control in China-backed explosive venture as Beijing expands in the Sahel. South Africa leading index rises for second month. Zimbabwe records its lowest inflation in over 2 decades. We'll also take a look at Nigeria's new tax law and its implication for business. You're welcome once again to the program. I am Wang Fonabasi Walter. Today we begin with Nigeria, looking at new tax laws. Last year, Nigeria introduced a major overhaul of its tax system with the aim of simplifying how businesses are taxed and improving compliance, but it got implemented this year. Currently, the new tax law is causing a stir in the business community, from exemptions for small companies to new levies and stricter compliance rules. Many are asking who really benefit and who could feel the pinch. In no time, we will be joined by Mr. Olaleko Ayinde, a financial analyst with expertise in corporate taxation and business strategy, to help us break down these new tax laws, what they mean for businesses, large and small, and how investors are likely to respond. Welcome to the program, Mr. Ayinde.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
All right. In very simple terms, what are these new tax laws really about, and why should Nigerian businesses pay attention?
Okay, so essentially, the government has been on a drive to improve economic growth, at the same time improve revenue collection across the state. So because it's been that the tax to GDP ratio of Nigeria as a country has been really poor, and that's because many Nigerians do not feel the urge to pay appropriate taxes, or maybe don't even pay at all. So that's been the main idea behind the reason why there has to be a new tax laws.
All right, so you're saying that because Nigerians don't really pay attention, now the Nigerian government had to enforce these new tax laws. Okay, so under the Nigeria Tax Act 2025, the government says the reforms are designed to reduce the burden on small businesses, with exemptions and simplified obligations for companies below certain turnover thresholds. From what you've seen in the actual provisions of the law, which businesses truly benefit from these reforms and which ones may still struggle despite these promised reliefs?
Okay, yeah, like you rightly said, small medium-sized business who do not do a turnover of 100 million every year are exempt from paying tax. And for me, that's a plus, because they don't have to burden those businesses with that with tax at that level. However, the fact that they don't pay tax does not mean their records should not be kept straight, and they shouldn't file for necessary taxes as at when due. The whole idea is to understand that businesses have a responsibility to the government, and by keeping your records straight, it helps. So it gives feedback to the government. Okay, say for example, we have XY number of businesses who are currently doing below the threshold of 100 million in Nigeria. So it helps in policy making and decision making for the future.
All right. Tax authorities have also said the new tax framework will reduce multiple taxation by harmonizing several levies and streamlining how businesses are taxed across levels of government. In practical terms, does this new tax system really reduce multiple taxation for businesses, or are companies still likely to face overlapping tax demands?
Yeah, on paper, yeah, that's the goal for the new tax regime. Currently, there's something called the development levy, which is about 4%, which comes in to replace multiple taxes that businesses do pay on different platforms. So what they are trying to do is they bring out these old taxes that people have been paying, and they introduce one single form of tax, which is called development tax, and it's at 4%. which, yeah, the goal is to harmonize everything. Now, the thing is, that's done at the federal level. There has to be some sort of harmonization too that has to go on at the state level and local government level. But hopefully we get there. I mean, we start from the top. It can only go one way, and that's downward. So hopefully there should be some form of state and other local governments adopting these new tax laws as well.
All right, let's shift our attention now to the penalty involved. Now, some government officials argue that the new tax laws will improve transparency and predictability. On the flip side, some analysts have raised concerns about stricter rules and higher capital gains tax affecting investment decisions. Now, do these reforms make Nigeria a more attractive place to do business, or they are risk discouraging both local and foreign investors?
Okay, so first of all, the use of technology and all that will make tax more transparent, and that's why you have e-filing system, e-value-added tax payment system. So, and why, if I want to invest in a country, the first thing I'm going to be looking at as an investor is what's my tax rate? If I make profit on my investment in this country, how much am I paying in tax? Can I repatriate my fund back to my source country or the country where I'm investing for? So I think when you look at that side of the story, it's good for investors. For capital gain tax, the argument here is that it's a bit higher, 30%. I share that sentiment as well. However, maybe we need to talk more on the fact that capital gain tax hasn't been a thing in Nigeria for a long time. Many people dispose of their equities or assets as such. They don't pay any tax on it to government. And these are I mean, you're trading on the stock exchange that is being consistently and heavily regulated by the federal government of Nigeria. So for me, I don't think that should go on, and that's why I feel, yeah, maybe 30% is a bit high for businesses, but not paying anything on capital gain tax is a no-no for me. That's where I stand.
All right, so the Nigeria's New Tax Act 2025 brings big changes. Small companies now enjoy major tax relief, while larger firms pay a new 4% development levy, as you outrightly said earlier, instead of multiple levies. Capital gain tax has risen. Digital services are now taxed and e-voicing is mandatory. Penalties for non-compliance are also stricter. Looking at this from the perspective of everyday business, what aspects of the new tax law are likely to have the biggest impact on the daily operations and survival of small shop owners or startup founders, especially for those that earn 800,000 annually, and for market women as well?
Sir, do you want to go over that again, please?
What I meant is that for small tax business owners, what are the aspects of the new tax laws like? What are the aspect of the new tax laws are like? Do they have impact on the daily operations and survival of small shop owners, especially for business, small business owners?
Yes, actually, yes. Because now, like I said at the onset, if you're not doing a certain threshold in terms of revenue, you are completely exempt from tax. So what you need to do as a business owner is just keep your records intact as much as possible. If the taxman comes around, the fact that you are exempt from tax does not make you not keep your books up to date. Because look at it, even if you need further investments or further financing, show people your books, this is where I was, this is where I currently am, and this is where I aspire to go to. It makes everybody's work easy. So yes, I think yes, small business owners would benefit from them getting the exemption while they work at growing their businesses to becoming someone who would pay tax in the nearest future.
All right, and finally, for business owners, what practical steps should they start taking immediately to stay compliant and avoid any surprises under these new tax laws?
Okay, so I think every business should be duly registered with the CAC as a limited liability company. Have a dedicated business account to use for your businesses. Do not in any way try to evade tax. That's a criminal situation. As much as possible, involve people who can help you in terms of lawyers, accountants. It may not be a full-fledged situation where they have to come in, but let them see how you're running your account so you don't get in trouble with the tax man. It goes a long way helping you keep your books straight, know what are allowable expenses and non-allowable expenses. I think by doing that, everybody will be fine.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Olalekon Ayinde, for helping us break down this complex tax.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
All right. Now for business owners watching, understanding the new rules, planning ahead and staying in compliance will be a key to navigating these changes successfully. We'll take a short break here. When we return, we'll look at all the pressing economic concerns across the continent. Stay with us. Welcome back. This has been African Economy, bringing you insight the matter in Africa's evolving financial landscape. And now let's go to the petroleum sector. Nigeria's oil sector has received a fresh boost after the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited confirmed a new discovery at the AWODI-07 appraisal and exploration well in the western Niger Delta, reinforcing the country's long-standing position as Africa's most influential oil producer. The well, drilled by Chevron Nigeria Limited under its joint venture with NNPC Limited, is located in a shallow offshore domain and confirmed the presence of hydrocarbons across multiple reservoir zones. According to the NNPC spokesperson Andy O'Day, the drilling forms part of the joint venture's ongoing effort to further demarcate and unlock hydrocarbon potential within its assets portfolio. Although commercial volumes from AWODI-07 have yet to be disclosed, the discovery comes as Nigeria works to consolidate its production recovery after years of losses caused by oil theft, vandalism and underinvestment. To the southern part of Africa, Zimbabwe's economy is showing signs of stabilization, with inflation rates significantly decreasing. The Zimbabwe gold currency has supported economic recovery, reflecting increased usage in transactions. Stricter monetary policies and foreign exchange stability are contributing factors to the declining inflation. Meanwhile, markets' confidence is reflected in the growing foreign investor participation in Zimbabwe's stock market. And now let's shift our attention to another concern. where Mali has moved to tighten its grip on the mining supply chain by taking a 51% controlling stake in a new industrial explosives company partnered with China's Oxin Chemical Technology. The provoke granted by Mali's Council of Ministers positions the government at the center of a business that supplies explosives for gold, lithium and quarrying operations, inputs that are essential to the country's extractive economy and closely linked to the national security. The joint venture Farat Chico SA announced in 2024 will produce civil-use explosives locally, reducing reliance on import. The move highlights rising state interventions in strategic sectors and further shows Beijing's expanding industrial footprint across the Sahel. Authorities said the majority stake allows the states to strengthen oversight, improve supply reliability, and secure sensitive materials in a context of regional insecurity. Let's turn our attention now to the East Africa, where Kenya has announced plans to borrow 125 billion shillings in short-term syndicated loans this year to fund ongoing road construction, with plans to refinance the debts later through longer-term bonds backed by a 25 shillings per litre fuel levy. This move will bring the total funds raised by securitizing future fuel levy flows to 300 billion shillings, according to a report. Last year, Kenya raised 175 billion shillings in syndicated loans, which were used primarily to settle outstanding payment to road contractors. According to Martin Agumbe, Acting Director General of the Kenya Roads Board, the new loans will support ongoing projects. Away from that, the composite leading business cycle indicator in South Africa rose by 1.4% month-on-month in November 2025, accelerating from a 0.4% increase in the previous month. This marks the second consecutive monthly gain, as increases in 8 of the 10 available component time series outweighed decreases in other 2. The largest positive contributors were accelerations in the 6-month smooth growth rate of the real M1 money supply and job advertisement space. In contrast, the main negative contributors were a narrowing interest rate spread and a deceleration in the 6-month smooth growth rate in the number of new passenger vehicles sold. Meanwhile, the composite coincidence indicator grew by 0.3% in October, following a 0.1% rise in the prior period, driven by increases in the industrial production index and the real value of wholesale, retail and motor trade sales. The lagging indicator declined by 0.4% in the same month. Lastly, in African economy, let's look at the currency markets, particularly the US dollar in relation to some African currencies. The US dollars against the Nigerian naira exchange rate, dropped to 1,408 naira 31 kobo, down to 0.52%. The US dollars against the South African rand is at 16 rand per US dollars, down to 0.18%. The US dollars against the Zambian kwacha is at 119 kwacha per US dollar, up to 0.74%. The US dollars against the Egyptian pound is at 47 pound per US dollar, down to 0.08%. The US dollars against the Algerian dinar is at 129 dinar with a percentage of 0.18. The US dollars against the Angolan kwanza is at 922 kwanza per US dollar, down to 0.39%. Conclusively, the market reflects a general downturn in some African currencies, highlighting ongoing economic and external pressures. Economy. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow us across all our social media channels at Spectrum TV. Remember, African Economy airs live every Tuesday and Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Until next time, keep thinking growth, keep thinking progress, because this is where Africa's economy speaks. I am Wang Fonabasi Ota. Goodbye, Africa.